You two are.
All right, well, let's start this podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Moment of Men, where we talk about men's issues. I am Shawn Sims, and this is my brother Chuck. What do you call you? Chuck Munga? What?
That's Franco's.
Chuck. So our boys started calling Chuck Chumunga.
Chuck Chumunga.
Chuck Chumunga.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And then he's going to talk about something. We're going to make jerk chicken and chunker burgers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's hilarious. All right, so today's topic is a good one. I hope you guys enjoy this, but it's a topic that we find really difficult in relationships, and it's, do women listen well? And I know there are ladies out there talking about, well, you know, do men listen well? So yeah, that's a great that's a great topic to talk about. But we're not talking about that today. We're going to be talking about, do women listen well?
I'm adjusting. We know our flaws a little bit, so we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
the focus is going to be like women listen, because I heard a topic, and when I brought this up, I heard a topic on social media, and it talked about, and she had said, all this stuff. Her man that came on to her, and then I told her, he said, you know, hun, I miss when you used to do this. I miss when we used to do this. And the question that he asked was, how can we get back to all of this, right? And I surmised that from her comments, because she was going on, he wanted to tell me, but remember when he used to do this, and we used to do this, and blah, blah, right?
right.
But in nowhere in all of that 32-minute run thing did she ever say, you know, hey, I can do this more, because the relationship's a give and take. So I feel like in current relationships, it's okay for a man to take criticism. But when you're talking about having a conversation about criticizing you, or not criticizing, I guess you could say, in a sense, being critical or having something that's a difference of opinion towards your woman, I think that is almost like it sparks like emotional warfare.
I think when men approach their significant others, their wives or their girlfriends, about just an issue they may have with them, then they become defensive immediately. And so, you know, I don't know. And it really depends on how they were raised and how they were brought up in the household that they saw. You know, how they saw their mother react to their father, if they had a father in a relationship, or, you know, if they didn't, how their mother reacted to them when they, you know, I'm sure they probably never confronted their mother about anything, depending upon how their mother responded. And so a lot of women today, they don't have a good example of how to respond in love and not defensiveness, especially when their spouse really cares about them and wants to make their relationship better and grow. And I was listening to a book, because I hate to read. I was talking about English. I hate to read. And so to compensate for me not reading, it's not that I don't take in information. It's just I have to take it in Audible. So I have Audible, the app, on my phone. And I was listening to this book today.
Great app.
And the guy was talking about emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is that you are intelligent enough to not respond always with an emotional response, right? You know, you have to pick and choose your battles and when to, you know, it's the whole fight or flight thing. So, you know, a lot of women, when they become defensive, they're going to either fight, which means they're going to start blaming you for things that you may have done in the past, like the example that you gave, or they're going to flight, or they're going to flee, which means they're going to shut down. Men do the same thing typically. We all do that, but you know, as we grow in maturity, we should be emotionally intelligent, meaning we should know when a person is coming to us just to talk about what their needs are without becoming defensive, especially if he loves you and you love him. You need to settle down and just listen with not the intent to respond, but the intent to, you know, question. I think, like, so, you know, are you saying, honey, or are you saying, babe, that, you know, you want this out of our relationship, or are you saying that I'm not doing something correctly? And the question, answer, maybe, yeah. Maybe like, no, I need you to do this. I need this to change. And, you know, if they're emotionally intelligent, they can take a look at themselves and be, the word I'm looking for is, have some type of, goodness gracious, it'll come back to me. But their response should be one that says to their spouse, okay, honey, I'll work on that. You know, this is what you need. Accountability. That's the word I'm looking for. So they need to take accountability for for their actions or how they may be behaving or how their man is telling them that something needs to change.
Here's the thing. So I had a conversation, three things when we were looking at this topic. I wanted to ask a group of, not friends, because I didn't talk. I talked to guys that I knew that I, either in workplace, business, or just kind of like in my surroundings, wherever I was, that I knew were kind of like, had extracurricular activities outside of their households, right?
So they had an extra girlfriend?
Dude, I'm not putting no.
All right.
Let's start with food.
Okay, no, and I can't. Don't like to say.
No, I'm just saying that I suspected, or by the way they talk. And I kind of interjected myself in some of the conversations because I wanted to know. And one of the things I had said, the reason why I did that is because I saw two interviews. One, it was a young brother, I forget his name, shout out to him on YouTube. He said, don't wait for me to come to you with my problems and then for you to tell me all the things that I'm not doing. He said, because I feel like you've been waiting to offload on me. And he said, that's not fair. He said, why don't you let me get mine off? We work through it and then you get yours off, or vice versa. Yeah. So I'm the type in a relationship, right? I am not perfect. But where I'm good at is that when my woman comes to me, I'm not a big talker at what I do. I'll say, I'll fix this. And I'll begin working on it because I want you to see my actions, not my words. So if I'm not doing something, revisit it and say, hey, babe, I brought this up to you. You didn't do this. What's going on? Right? And even in current situation, I was talking to someone and we had a conversation and we were having a relationship. And I'm like, and I said to this person, I'm like, you can't do that. Like, that's hurtful when you do that. And I don't think that she was used to a man actually saying it like that.
Right. Yeah.
And then she was like, no man should be hurtful. Oh, stop talking.
Ooh.
Dog, I was like this. I was like,
Woosah.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Let me start praying.
I called him Jesus to you.
Yeah, I was like, hey, let's start praying.
Yeah, because I was like, but that was weird for me.
Right.
So,
Well, that was disrespectful. That was disrespectful. I mean, that right there. I mean, women don't ever do that. I mean, that challenges a man's manhood, you know, who he is as a man. And that, you know, men don't take that very kindly. And, you know, some men, if they're not emotionally intelligent,
right,
they will pop off on you.
Right.
Yeah, they'll respond in kind. Like,
right.
that is a sign of physicality. And you don't want you don't want you to put yourself in a place where a man has to become physical with you.
Well, it's not just, and even not just physical, because I know a lot of women will say, that's when if he can't take a little bit of me and sashaying and doing this, then he ain't no real man and all that. It's just a matter of respect. If you respect that man, you respect that and you value him the same way he values you. Like, I'm not on war.
I would challenge that and say, if the woman does that to the man, then she's no type of woman that you need to be with. And if you're doing that, then you need to change. That's got to stop. You need to grow up and become mature, and don't think that that's an option for you to ever talk to or treat your man that way. That's just not, it's not kind. Right. It's not loving. I don't care what he did to you. If he has done something to you, you talk to him. If the behavior don't change, then you leave. If you're not married, you leave. It's other men out here good men out here that will take care of you, that will love you, that will, you know, do what you need him to do as long as you're prepared to do what you need to do for him. Right. You know, you got to show love in order to get love. You got to show respect in order to get respect, and it's vice versa. But I mean, that type of behavior is unacceptable.
And it is. But I'm just saying, like, when I started looking at this topic, when we were talking today, I started having a comment. I started looking at how people are generally feeling towards this issue in relationships. And another thing that I love that a brother said, Neo watched the interview, and one of the things he said that I think he was on Drink Champ, shout out to Nori and them, and DJ FN, and I believe Moni Love is on there now. I saw an episode with her on there. I love Moni Love.
I'm so far removed from the hip hop culture anymore.
Moni Love?
No, I know Moni Love, but like I don't follow it anymore because it's been overtaken by a lot of garbage music.
Right. Well, you know, and you got all these people out here, but there are messages. Hip hop is still primarily the message of the youth. So I keep my ear close to it because my youth, and I want to see what they listening to, what they're hearing. And I want to help them navigate through what all that means.
Yeah.
But one of the things he had said that I didn't notice, but he wrote the song "To the Left" by Beyonce, and he said when he was singing and he went in the studio, he said, one of the lines he said that you'll be back out. I found another one just like you. Matter of fact, she'll be here in a minute. Something here, that line that Beyonce kicked today that all the women cheered for, right?
Yeah.
You must not know about me. And he said that he had to look at his family. He was like, my fan base is 78% women. If I say this, dude, I'm going to lose a lot of my fan base. And so he took the song over to Beyonce, where it was celebrated.
Right.
No, she didn't change the lyrics. She just stated them from a woman's perspective.
Yeah.
And it was celebrated and accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that to say is, you see how men having emotions or sometimes having an opinion about something is not celebrated. The thing is that I always say, at the end of the day, when I'm in a relationship, I always say that if you and I said this to a friend of mine earlier, we were talking about what a man sacrifices. And I said to her, if I'm in a relationship and we both had a tough day at work, I surrender myself to you because I should be an emotional platform. Because at the end of the day, my job is not to be the emotional like heavy in the house. My job is to be the protector.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I need you to feel protected. So
Right.
To me, I just tell it's all people, places, and things for me. But to you, it's an emotional connection. It's something that means something to you. It means more to you than it does for me. So I surrender that time to you. And leading into that, another woman, she said, she had talked about, like, no one talks about how a man surrenders. And reason why I don't tolerate disrespect is because I'm that man that'll get up in the middle of the night as I'm supposed to.
Right.
I'm that man that should somebody disrespect you, I won't be to say something to address it. I'm that man, I walk on the outside of the street. I wouldn't dare let you walk on the outside of the street because if a car comes up, it's going to hit me. If bullets come flying off, I get hit first. If the children you are somewhere and there's starting to be a shootout, a knife out, or a fight, I'm protecting my family. So what we get, and to get no respect when we come home or to be devalued, it's just not. I'm just not going to tolerate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I just feel like, when some women, right, not all, right, with some women, especially if they're upper class women and they've got through life through hers or not have had to surrender themselves in a sense, they are used to being sort of the kind of the masculine one in relationships or at the office, that they don't know when to turn that off when they get home. So it's kind of like, I don't mind you being a boss in your world and do whatever you want to do, but when you come home, and rather we living at my house, your house, our house, wherever my hat is my home.
Well, I think the worldview of a relationship is that if a woman makes more than the man, that she is the head of the household and she runs things and she runs where they go and what they do and how they live.
Good, because I'm gonna go out and talk jump to a 6-foot dude and I'm gonna tell you my bitch got this. Take care of that.
No.
Yeah, but they see that's not the.
But that's the worldview. And so the worldview is if the woman makes more money than she is.
And if the BITCH word was an analogy, I don't want to hear nobody,
That's all. But the biblical viewpoint, it doesn't matter if the woman is making more money than the man. The man is still the head of the household because if we have believers that are listening to our podcast right now, it doesn't matter. Your husband is still the one that's going to have to be judged for how he took care of his family, how he not just provided for them, but how he loved them and how he led them and where he led them.
Right.
And so God is going to judge him, not you.
Right.
But him. So if you're the one that is making more and you feel like you need to be leading, now there are some instances where just the guy is if your husband is leading you into sin, then that's another point where you don't follow him. Mm-hmm. But if he's not leading you into sin and he is the man that you loved and the man that you married and you respect him, even if you don't, you have to trust that God has got him. And God is going to move in him for you guys, for the whole family. It's not your place to belittle him or put him down or make him feel less than a man because he's not bringing in more money than you are.
But see, also too, there's something that you said right there. Believers like you I'm talking. Listen, make this clear. I'm talking about in any relate, whether you Christian, any type of Christianity, Mormon, Muslim, Buddhist, whenever you believe in, right? Whatever your denomination or sector, religion or beliefs are, right? In all leadership, right? If a man is not leading in his household, what is his position? And the thing is that another thing, like, if you look at biblical context, right, and you want to talk spiritual, right, it talks about like how a woman should love. One thing I love in the Bible, and years ago when I went through premarital counseling, the one thing is that, and then my wife at the time, God rest her soul, God rest in peace, is that she brought up was that we were digging in the book of Proverbs. And the book of Proverbs, I think every married couple needs to read. And one of the things that is said is that she pointed out, I must love myself. I love you more than I love myself. And pointed out, my body is yours and is a temple. But then I was laughing at the time at the dinner table. And the one thing she quickly reminded, she said, but you have a greater responsibility.
Really?
And I'm like, huh? She said, you have to love me as so Christ loved his people, right? The church.
Mm-hmm.
And he died for his people. So when you die, we joke, but it was a heavy, because I had heard men say in the church, you will do as I say, you will surrender. But the Bible says, submit ye one to another, right? Her body belongs to you, your body belongs to him. Like, so when I was having these increasing conversations with people, I was very shocked. And a lot of men would just say, you know what, it ain't worth telling her my problems. The only thing she want to do is judge me, and she don't listen to nothing I say anyway. I'm not saying that that's that woman's fault, but I'm saying that's sad in any relationship, man or woman, that if your partner feels as though they're unheard. You know what I mean?
It's Ephesians 5:21. And further submit one to another out of the reverence of Christ, which you were just saying. Mm-hmm. 22 says, for wives, this means submit to your husband as to the Lord, for husbands is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. As Christ submits to the church, so wives should submit to your husbands in everything. It didn't say in some things, it says in everything. Mm-hmm. But husbands, this means you love your wives just as Christ loved the church, and he gave up his life for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is why, like I said, I won't get into another relationship unless you have a relationship with Christ, because how can you be on fire for me when you have no burning for Christ? Because for me, I'm already a big personality. I got my stuff with me. I don't need another woman who's secular. I need another woman who's going to suck me into Christ. Like, I need to be in that gateway. I need to be, hun, let's go, hun. Mm-hmm. I need that guidance, and I had to learn that the hard way. And I'll tell you, I'll lead my family in a path of success, but where if I don't have a partner that doesn't follow as I see in Christ, it's hard for me, because then I feel like I need to accommodate to meet her where she's at, and I don't want to waste my life doing that. I want to meet a woman where she's at when she has a burning for Christ.
Yeah.
Because see, at the end of the day, you know this like anybody else. When you're going through something, if her only love is just towards you and she doesn't have a spiritual relationship, then where does she go when things get tough?
Yeah.
Because
marriage is hard, dude.
Yeah.
Marriage is hard. I don't know how people get through it and know I am Christ. I don't. But getting back to women listening, right?
Right.
So, the Bible says, that God gave us, 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, where we ought to listen twice as much as we ought to speak.
See that?
And so, if you there are probably women out there saying, but my husband doesn't talk to me. But it's probably something in your past that doesn't allow him to feel safe to talk to you. So if he's not talking to you, then I don't know, in some situations in the past where you weren't emotionally intelligent enough to respond with love, then he probably is not going to feel safe talking to you. I told you this before. I said, we teach people how to treat us, right? And so if your husband tried to come to you before and, you know, with an issue that he was having, and you may have responded with either becoming defensive or later on, a couple weeks later, you threw it in his face, then he's never going to come to you. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to feel safe. So I would encourage you just to go to your husband and say, hey, you know, something you need to talk to me about. You know, I'm here for you. I want to listen to you. I want to love you. I want to submit to you in that way. And I want us to get better. And I want us to be able to talk to each other. Like, you know, unfortunately, there are women out there that will listen to your husband, right? There are women out there that'll listen to your husband, hear what he has to say, not become defensive. Number one, because they don't have the relationship with him. But number two is, you know, they see the type of man that you have, and if they don't have that type of man, you know, they want him, and they know that, and in this part of the relationship, that if you listen to him, and if you hear him, and maybe give him some good advice, you know, even if she, being friendly with oh, no, your wife is, you know, wife is a good woman, you know, cheering you up, be careful. You know, you want your husband to come to talk to you. Right. You want your husband to divulge his innermost desires to you. You know, you want your husband to come and cry on your shoulder or what he's struggling with at work and life. I mean, it's difficult out here for men.
And be a safe space. Let me tell you this, because if I feel like my conversation is going to turn into your conversation, meaning your girlfriend's, that's not a safe space for me. That is not. I've been there. That does not feel good at all. And on top of that, in addition to that, it's hard for a man when a man tells you the things that he needs, and he's passionately telling you, this is what I need from you, you give that advice to other people and don't take it towards him. That's hurtful. That is hurtful. That makes a man feel devalued, and it does not feel good. Take it from me. And we're not in no way saying that a man who chooses to do wrong, neither one of us is saying that. Neither one of us believe in that. We're not saying that a man chooses to do wrong is it is not your fault. But why would you?
But hold on. So I hear you with that. But I'm gonna say this. I mean, if he's done, you know, if he's committed some sin, or, you know, there's some infidelity been in your relationship before, and you've chosen to forgive that man, then you got. I mean, that you have to still be able to listen to him, right, and respect him. If you forgiven him and you love him, and you guys have got through some tough times, you know, vice versa. If you had the woman is his wife, and you guys have forgiven each other for that, then that should not come into play when you view him or her when it comes to listening to him.
Yeah, but I think what a lot of couples do is they'll forgive the rough things, right? But they want to get immediately past it by covering up what other stuff. So you can't. Like,
you
okay,
trust.
It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not that it's your fault, but why was this the answer this time? Why was this? And there are a few things outside of drug and alcohol that abuse. You know what I mean? Like, we just say we abusive with drug and alcohol or substance. You can't heal someone from an ailment that they choosing to continue to be in, right? And I always say, like, and when you forgiving a partner, rather as just their lack of commitment, adultery, for fornication, whatever the situation is, right? Figure out what it is, because sometimes if you with someone, then they just love. There's some people you talk to and they just think that, and I've had an aunt like this, just thinks that she's entitled to have somebody that she has addition to whoever she's with. Right. And you can't fix that. And at that point, you have to let that go.
Yeah.
You have to accept that to be that the way it is, or let it go. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't fix somebody from a habit that they see no fault in, right? And I always say this, you know, the Bible talks about continuous sin. Like, if I go out and I commit adultery, and here's the thing, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, please don't. Listen, when I was younger, I did so much stuff, but walking in the path of Christ, having a successful marriage, you know, and learning how to grow and learning the hurt that my hurt causes, it's just not worth it to me. To me, it's just not worth being in a relationship with somebody. And if I can't get everything I need from you, I'll walk away from. That is better for me, because later on, when you grow, when you go into circumstances, you'll see that, hey, maybe I should do this. And I'd rather walk away to give myself a second chance later than to stay and sabotage any chance at all. So that's my mind, right? But there are some people that feel like that they don't have to do any work, like, and you have to. It's like I always use the conversation. I had to talk to a friend of mine. I said, I need a woman that's going to check in with me every once in a while. And she gave me a whole conversation. I should not check on no man. He's 51 years old and blah blah.
See,
and
what's going on with us?
And it is, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So with last we left off, you were talking about women, and what were you saying about?
Do women listen?
No. You gave a specific. You were trying to give a specific situation. I forget, but we'll take it from there. But
well, I think the thing is, I did talk about the Neo one, and then I think the thing I was talking about is, one of the brothers had said this, and I had reposted it, and he made a comment. He had said, most women don't take constructive criticism well, right? If I'm going to tell you, if I wind up with you, and me and you, and I'm telling you, hun, hey, I miss the intimacy 3 times a week. It's only happened once.
sex.
Yes.
Sex.
No, hold on. So hold on.
No, I'm just talking about this. I 3 times a week, so I'm thinking it's sex.
Because
so what is intimacy? No, what part of intimacy going
to me is very different.
Yeah, no, I get that, but you can have intimacy every day, not just 3 days. You specifically said 3 days, so I'm thinking you're talking about sex. Like
no, so to me,
because the average couple, the sex is like 2.5 times a week, 3, which if you round up, and like where do you get the 0.5 times a week? But yeah, it is.
Well, listen, I can do sex 5 times a week, and hold on.
A man can do sex. How many days a week is 7? It's 7. Right. So 2 or 3 times a day. So that's like 14 to 21 times a week. So yeah, we can do that if we had the opportunity to. Yeah.
But I'm not saying sex. What I've learned to come into what's important to me is those intimate moments. Like you said, intimacy is every day. Hugging you, kissing you.
Yes.
Telling you, hey, babe, hey, I cooked your favorite dinner today. What do you think? I put the show on. Those are intimate moments, right? So when I'm talking about, I guess specifically intimate to me, is that I realize that I love sex, but that's not the biggest thing that does it for me. It's the touch for me, the intimate moments when we're sitting on the couch and the kids are in bed and we're sitting on the couch and you're just talking to me and touching me and rubbing my hair and going through my locks and rubbing my back. That to me means more than I might fall asleep before I even get to ask you for something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she be like, put his big ass down, don't worry. You know?
I like the fact that I think I like touch too. I think as far as my love language that is physical touch is the most, and mine most of the most men is having sex, right? But no, intimacy is not just sex, right?
Right.
They
I'll
say
go
that
for the sex for the intimacy.
So they and talking about how sex is started, intimacy is started in the morning when you first wake up. For women, and like men can be armed, immediately. Like they can be ready and
it's 5 o'clock. Everyone is somewhere.
Yeah, right. So they say, women are crock pots, men are microwaves, right? Type of deal. But I think I love it, like being able to touch my way, like and in those inappropriate spots, like because I can't do that with anybody.
Right.
So if I don't grab breasts, I'm gonna grab them. I'm not feeling on her and touching her on her. Do it. So for me, because I can't do that with anybody else, right? She's the only one.
That's how.
Right. The Bible talks about that. Like your body is not your own. Your body is on your husband's, right?
Right.
And so
now, ladies, don't go too far on me. So I might go pull you around by your penis.
We're in an appropriate situation,
Yeah, you might. Yeah, you pull me around if you want.
The Bible doesn't talk about what we can do in our bedroom,
right?
Just as long as we keep others out, all that crap, right? Right. The Bible tells us that we should have an exciting. If you read the Book of Solomon, it talks about your clothes, how you smell, how you look, makeup, all those things to entice your husband. Or entice one another, like men, you should smell good too, right.
And la day of la sweat is not smelling good,
right? So getting back to women listening, do they listen well? And that's a question I think you ladies have to answer for yourselves. Are you in the situation where you've ever been told by your husband, and I can't talk to you, or you don't listen to me,
right?
Then that's definite. I mean, he's telling you. So you have to be cognizant of that. You have to listen and you have to be attentive and say, I know it maybe years ago he said it to you. He's just shut down. He doesn't tell you anything. Your relationship's going to shit and you guys don't have the best one. If he said it to you, maybe revisit that conversation and say, man, I know we're struggling right now. Why? Is it because you don't feel safe? You don't think I'll listen to you? What is it? And that takes a lot, right?
Right.
Or husbands, go to your wives and say, listen, I don't know where you guys are in your marriage or relationship. If you're struggling, I try to talk to you, go to the Bible, talk about, men, like you said, men have to love their wives like Christ loved the church, and he died for them. Like, that has come to my life over the past 3 weeks, like hard. I've had people just speaking into me about that because we've been struggling in our marriage, to be honest with you guys, and it's tough. And
that's a real.
And I've had to die to myself. I had to die and just say, look, I'm sorry. For what I've done or what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. But this is what I need, and we've had to have a hard conversation. But yes, it is a struggle, especially when women do not listen to their man.
And I always tell women, you need to know this. If a man truly loves you, he will kill his pride daily just to give you the things that you need. I'm telling you, I have hard stops on certain things that I wouldn't do in a relationship. I ain't holding no person walking through no mall. I won't. My mom, come on.
How about like no person?
I won't. My mom
You don't hold a hand?
No, I will her hand. I won't hold a purse. Like,
a purse. A purse. I'm going to say a person. I thought you said no. I got you, man. You're okay.
And my mom ruined that because my aunt told me, she said, when you dig in a woman's purse, it's like digging in her vagina. So I don't do that. So it just freaks me out to go in her purse. Like, oh, Chuck, he dig. And anyone I date finds it funny. Chuck, go in there, give me a knot on my purse, girl. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But outside of that, like the other stuff, like holding your hand, and if I see you at a boutique and you like something, I'll study that. You don't have to tell me twice, because then when I'm at a similar boutique and I see something, I might be like, you know what, my baby would look good in that, right? But you also got to be a mature woman to handle that, because see, I did that one relationship one time, and I saw her at this boutique. She was looking at stuff that she liked. And I thought, yeah, okay. So I think about 6 months later, I was somewhere, it was like a party, and I was like, oh, I got this, a big dress in the box, the old fancy romantic gesture. And she said, I don't like that. Okay. I said, well, she tell you about, and I tried again. But my trying again was because I failed, I got it wrong.
Right.
And then she was like, well, I know you want to dress me in what you want to see me in. That killed it for me.
Right.
Because she never asked, like, why do you keep...
She just assumed.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is that she didn't care to even ask, because she didn't listen, because her girlfriends told her. And here's the thing. When you got a phone on speaker and I'm upstairs, I can hear you. So you're like, oh, he's still trying to control you about buying you shit. But that's spoken from someone who doesn't have, someone who's not invested or pouring into them. Like, I always say to you, I'm unmarried. If my boy ever come to me, my married friends come to me talking, I listen, but I have no place to give them advice. And I might say, here's, brother, I'm praying for you, what I would do, because I think single people need to stay out of unmarried or committed people relationships. You cannot, listen, here's the thing. If you want to tell her or him what to do with their relationship, there's a reason why he didn't choose your Bob. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the thing is that there's a reason why you're not chosen.
Right.
The thing is that if you still unchosen and you telling other people how to stay chosen.
For instance, oh, I'm chosen because I want to be unchosen. I don't want no man. But then you still don't have the experience, brother, expertise to talk to some girlfriend about her relationship.
Right. You don't. If you choose to be alone,
because it's about
choose to be silent.
Right. Yeah. And I think you said something really, really important there. You talking about studying, and that's a part of listening. Mm-hmm. Like, paying attention to what your man needs. That's listening. Mm-hmm. It's may not be active listening where you have to say, revert back to him what he said to you, but it is listening to him. Oh, I need this. He's in a hardware store or whatever. Like, dude, I need this, but I can't get it right now. Maybe you don't have the money for it right now.
Right.
And you got to save up, or if you're dating them and you got the money, dude, give that to that man. I know.
I love that.
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. Like, it just shows that you cared and you was thinking and you were attentive and you heard him.
Right. And I listen, I always find too, like in relationships, right? Like nowadays, I love it when a woman is boss enough to be a part. And what I mean by that, and I've said this, right? Like I don't have no problem. If I'm doing something for you, I'm all out, right? I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy yourself, right? But when you're doing something for me, it's a when there's guidelines or restrictions on what you can do for me.
Right.
I'm a simple guy. I don't ask for nothing. I'm a sneakerhead,
Right.
So I buy my own clothes. You don't have to do nothing for me. So it's like I want you to be creative. You see me? Like, but I understand with you, like I will send flowers for no reason. But that's just not my love language. But if that's yours,
Right, you have to know their love. Like,
Right.
you can't just love them the way you want to be.
Right,
You love
right,
them
right,
the way they want
right,
to be loved.
right,
Ask to be loved.
right. So
Same thing for women. You gotta love your man not how you want to be loved, but how they ask to be loved, how they need to be loved.
But how does that happen? By listening.
Communication.
Right, right. Because communication does save the nation. I'm telling you, man. It's just some women, and I probably got about 1,000 women that are on this, that are watching this right now. That who the hell they think they are? I listen when I feel like it. That's not effective listening. If he
That's not emotional.
right, right.
That's that all about me. I'm selfish.
Right.
I'm not giving, and that's not the fruit of the spirit. And men, you need to stop. You need to run far away from those women and stop dating those women and the selfish individuals that speak like that. They're not mature. They're not going to end up being the women that you think they are, even though they put on a pretty dress and they got a nice body and going,
Wait. You want me to give look past the bodies and
yeah, you gotta look back all the time. You'll be in a relationship for the wrong reasons. We all been there before.
Right.
You lucky if you get out with no children. Right. You lucky if you get out with no children. Right. And so men have to be more aware and not settle for those individuals that don't care about them, and they are telling you that they don't care about you. You're just not listening.
Right. And then the thing is that and there was a Muslim sister that was on, because I believe that God sends messengers to all of us. We are all, like, I just believe certain people are all prophets in their face. And I've listened to Hebrew, I've listened to Jewish rabbis who give conversation, because when it's biblical, it doesn't matter the subcontext. We all disagree with the way we believe in which the Bible, but we agree on that general message. But one of the things she had said, that she gave a conversation, and she said I always tell, she was a teacher in a school, and she said, I always tell my sisters in the masjid, she says to them, or in the temple rather, she says, I tell them that they cannot spend their lives looking for a man to cater to them, right? You have to look for a man who cares, respects, and values it. And she says, she tells her sons, like, do not spend your life pleading to a woman's vanity, right? And I love that so much, because she had said that if you spend your time, because it'll never be enough, and you'll spend your life always chasing, and the only way you'll find value is if she finds value in what you give her. Mm. And in a sense, she loses the concept of taking care of her man because she thinks she's entitled to everything, right? And I've been there, right? I've been to a point, man, where, listen, I'm a type brother. I will go out, whatever you need, I'll get, right? And I always say this, and I always say this, and this is why I said the next relationship I get into, I was just woman in the ear. And I always say I'm firm on what I believe, right? So if I believe, like, case in point, like, there are things that I promised my wife when she died, right? That woman died in 2013. My kids were very little. They were still in preschool and not even in school, right? I was a hard adjustment for her. So in any relationship I got after that, I said, these are the promises I made to her. It's going to be hard for me, but I have to do them because she's not here to defend herself, and she's not here to make sure that these promises are not kept, or there's promises made. This is what she wanted for the children,
right?
And this is what I anticipate doing, And if you want to be with me, this is what I need from you. And you're going to have to help me help. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So much so to a point that everything that my wife thought, the things that how the close family was and what they were going to do to the children didn't happen so much. And then when I chose someone or something else, they sort of fell off. But then as they fell off, I didn't gain anything. You see what I'm saying? So I just always learned from that anything that I do moving forward, mm-hmm. I am brutally honest. Here's what my life is. Here's what I have to offer. Here's what I am. I want to make that clear. Don't get past that and say, oh, okay. Because you'll get me, right? You'll get me. And once my feet are planted, I don't know how to move. And that's the thing, why I won't get stuck in anything. Because I know that I in a sense, pour my own seat in those shoes. And I don't want to ever do that again.
I think our podcast is called The Moment of Man. And it's more so time for men to step up.
Right.
We have to stop settling for these women that don't listen to us, mm-hmm. and don't respect us, don't value us.
And we're at fault for that.
Yeah, we are. We're
taking responsibility for it.
We get in those relationships thinking she look good, she sound good, man, I can't wait to get her in bed type of deal. But
or there are some of us that are bonded to someone else's brokenness.
Yeah.
And then you think that and especially of us who've come from a hard life, we have a tendency to feel like, well, I came from something hard. I'm this person now, but I wasn't always that way. So let me help somebody else through all that.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, brother, once you fix what is broken, you don't owe nobody else you don't owe nobody your wholeness. Put your whole ass into a wholeful situation. Seriously.
But your whole manhood environment has already in.
Right. Pour into someone that can pour into you.
Yeah.
There's a saying that's online right now that said if you spend your time as being a water bottle pouring into caps, it's all caps. Because no matter how well you fill up that cap, it can never refill you. Yeah. So you need to pour into
it. It can never hold all that you're pouring into.
Right.
It can never hold. You're pouring all of yourself. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure many people, men and women, have poured a lot, all of themselves into a cat, a person that cannot hold all that you're going to pour into them. And you end up wasting the water, wasting yourself, wasting a relationship, wasting most importantly, the time that you can never get back.
Take it.
I think men need to find women that they feel will be good mothers. Like, and not these women that are running around cursing at their kids, yelling at their kids at the top of their lungs, ending stories. That just frustrates me to know it. They are children. I know it gets frustrating, but they don't know how to behave all the time. And it just takes grace sometimes. And for you to calm down, emotional intelligence, mm-hmm. because they only do what they see you doing. So if you're yelling at them, typically they may shut down. You ain't gonna have a good relationship. But what happens is they gonna start yelling at their brothers and sisters, siblings, or other people in school, and that's how they're gonna learn how to talk to people, how to resolve issues. And we wonder why these women out here are disrespecting the men, because they get it from their mothers, because their mothers yelling at them all the time for things that they were doing inappropriately. Instead of speaking with them in a kind way, in a way that's going to actually bring some peace in. I'm guilty of it, right? I've yelled at my kids before. Right. And so that never solves the situation. My kids sometimes won't have done in the past. They will escalate the situation because I'm escalating, mm-hmm. and then I have to escalate and I have to get loud. It doesn't help. But I mean, when you're cursing at your kids, and I've never done that, when you're in there, I mean, you're just spewing straight hate at your children. It's a wonder why our women and our men turn out the way that they do.
And here's the thing. When you're in those moments, I would assume that your wife is the calm.
Yes.
Which goes to my point. In any successful relationship, raising children, there cannot be two tornadoes in a house.
Right.
if you're always a storm and she's always a storm, you then raise a storm of children.
Yeah. And sometimes when she gets upset, I'm the
Right. But see, there's a balance.
Yeah.
But see, that's what's needed, right? And I been down that road. You gotta have someone that balances you, right? But see, the thing is that if someone not looking across the aisle and says, you know what, this man and these children are my priority, I have to do better, right? And if they refuse to do better, let them do something else. Because ultimately, what you have to decide is, for me, I always say I'm building a legacy, right?
Right.
And I determine what I'm building, right? And so that's why I always say, like, women say, oh, you think you better. I don't think I'm better than nobody. I want to do better.
You want to be better.
Right. I'm trying to be better. So it's like if
What's wrong with that?
right, I know where I came from.
Right.
I know all the turmoil I've been through.
Right.
I don't want my children having
Exactly.
right? So it is not like I'm so great because somebody go on and be like, Chuck, I remember, I know that's fine. Right. But here's the thing, but I don't have to explain where I'm at. I will never let you tear me down from where I came from to all the stuff that I built up where I'm at. Like, I am not gonna let you make that comparative analysis. You could do that somewhere else, right? But my thing is, it took all this work to get here.
Right.
Now that I'm here, and I'm not
Why can't you just be a good person? Why you gotta be better than? Why you gotta try to be better than somebody? Because they're.
But that's their right. That's their own security.
Yes.
And that's their own security. You think you great because you got the house? No, you said that. Or you think you're great because you got? No, I never said that.
Right.
Those who know me, dude, we got a core of friends. Like I'm always the most giving when we're out. Like I'm always
right.
Like that's just who I am, right? And it's not the showboat anybody. It's not like
It's how to take care of. But you got that hard. You got to serve it.
Right. Yeah. I love who I'm with, right? And I just think at this stage of my life, right? Shoot, I've had a bladder cancer scare. I've been through prostate scare. Like I've been through all that, right? And I value life. Shoot, I went to.
But you can't take none of this when you leave here anyway.
Right? But thank God that it all panned out, and I'm fully cleared. I'm good, right? But all this stuff is very scary, and it teaches you in life. If I look across, and I said this when I didn't say nothing when I was in another relationship. I was in another relationship, and I looked across him. I was like, oh my God, this person would no sooner spit on my grave or walk right over me if something was to happen to me. And I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I'm not that I anticipate worse, but I'm just saying, if shit's happen, I'm gonna look across and know that person loves me and adores me. It's like, that's my baby. Like I want that, and if I can't have that, I'll die alone.
So, just to give you all a background about my past and my parents. So, my father was he was in the service. He came home, got a good job, laid him off. Factory, the company went under. Right. He started selling drugs, and he was a pretty successful drug dealer. And so we had some money, and then he started he was taking drugs, so he became addicted. So we didn't have any money, and we were dirt poor in a position, at a place in my life, in a season of my life. And so my mother they got divorced because my father was cheating on her and kind of abused her. But my father was going through his addiction, and I saw my dad go through his addiction. I witnessed him using crack cocaine. My mother, when they left, they split. My mother then pulled herself up, started a business, a pretty successful business, taking care of kids, and she raised us. Yeah, so they didn't raise us well.
Right.
We didn't come up well, right? And so as a child, and I'm saying this because there are children out there who do have parents that will curse them out in the middle of the store, that will be belligerent with them and spew straight hate with them. And I'm saying to the children of these parents, you don't have to be that way with your children. Because I always said my parents were the perfect example of how not to be. And I wanted to raise my kids in a loving environment that will give them security, that will show them love, that will put them in a place, in a position where they can get out into the world and be better people. My kids are better people than ours, because my wife and I chose a different path. Her path is not the same, but she grew up poor. Like, she didn't have money. She didn't come from money, right? And so our value system is wants to be better than our parents. And I want my kids to be better than their parents. Like, I desire for my kids to talk to their kids in a way that I didn't all the time, because I didn't have that emotional intelligence at first. You know, it comes with counseling. It comes with self-preservation. It comes with maturity. It comes with work. Dude, it comes with work. Especially coming from the environment that I came out of, the situation I came out of with my parents. Like, and kids, you don't have to be this way, well, the way your parents are with you. Be better.
Like it changes.
Be better.
Right.
Be better than them. Want to be better. And parents, if you're doing this, I'm hoping that you want better for your kids. Mm-hmm. You want your kids to be better to their grandchildren, because you know what? One day you're talking all this trash and you cussing your kids out. I guarantee you won't do that to your grandkids. Mm-hmm. Right? You'll be loving to your grandkids. You'll be and you'll be more aware of what their needs are to your grandkids, because you've learned. And so you want your kids to be better than you. And I encourage you, if that's who you are right now, number one, get some help, grow mentally, get some counseling, but please instill in your children to be better than you. I tell my kids all the time, I say, you're better than me. I want you to be better than me. Because I've failed many times as a father, you know, to my kids. And I ask for forgiveness. We sit down with my kids and every couple of months and say, hey, how are we doing as parents?
As a parent, you realize that your imperfections is what makes you perfect, right? Acknowledging your imperfections, acknowledging that you're not perfect.
Right.
I think Sadhguru said something, and I love watching him for his philosophies and his ideology and some of the meditative techniques. But one of the things he had said, he said, understanding that we're responsible for what we put on this world, and understanding that your children, they don't belong to you, they belong to the world. Mm. So they are products of the world. So I took that to say is what I put out in this world, I'm contributing to either good or bad, right? So I had to learn from where I came from, right? I had to learn a lot of stuff. I had to learn to redirect myself. And then I remember like having a conversation, and I was with a friend, and I tried to explain to them. I said, listen, I didn't like this. This didn't feel very good. I had a conversation with an aunt one time, and I said, listen, this when you should do this to set me off this. And I had a conversation with my mom. And my mom, you know, was tearful, and then my mom made a bunch of snarky comments. And then she said, I just didn't know any better. I did what I knew, right? And I said, Mom, I love you. You did the best you could with what you had, right? And so I asked myself, am I doing the best I could with what I had, right? And even stuff that's happened to my children in situations, I had to acknowledge that I had a part because I allowed it to happen, right? I have a duty to protect them, make them feel safe, and make them feel loved, right? And my actions, if I'm not doing something like right now, my daughter, she goes to a thing where she's picking this habit of lying, right? And it's very difficult for me because I always say I can't stand a coward, a liar, a thief. And I don't know, I'm going to get punished for saying this, but I don't like a closet homosexual.
Well, Chump wears 13 shoes, and I don't wear 13 shoes, but if I wore 13 shoes, I would be stealing his sneakers. I told him so.
So, that's not feeling right. So, and the reason why I don't like is I always when somebody gonna lie to you, they'll steal from you, they'll kill you, right? And that's what I learned growing up. And then I don't care about somebody's orientation, right? But I just feel like when people have to hide something around me, and now I understand culture-wise it may be tough, but I always say if you love me, as much as I love you, be honest with me. Because I can't be around you if I can't trust you, right? You know what I mean? And I had an experience, I think I was like 20-something years old, I had like a big brother that was like a big brother that I honored. And I remember my wife said to me, God rest his soul, she said, oh, you know, he's gay. I said, oh, stop saying that, people will think he's proper. And then one day he like rubbed my leg. I was like, nigga, what are you doing? and that really set me on fire because that's not my thing. Like I don't do that. That's your thing. Be happy. But I don't like people who are dishonest and who are living a life that's not true to themselves. I'm not trying to be true, but be true to yourself. The point that I was trying to make is that for me as a man, I stand up every day. And I acknowledge that I go to my kids and listen, my kids will tell you, I'm downstairs, yeah, go, forward. And they'll tell you like, Dad, like, Now, I tell them when I call you like that because, you know, I walk through the house, like sometimes, you know, my sons are upstairs and they're into different things and I don't mind walk upstairs and like, hey, like what's going, like, you know what I mean? Like,
You want to be that proper dad?
right. So we talk about stuff and then sometimes it's a little difficult to hear, but I listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I always say the one thing is too is that difficult part for me is I always tell my daughter, I was like, honey, when you're dishonest with me, especially as a man, is how you'll one day communicate with your husband, right?
You're teaching them how to communicate with their children,
Right.
and their future husband. Yes.
And I always tell her, like, if I have to raise my voice with you, you should number one accept that. I don't care if it's from me. I said, I'm your father, but I'm going to talk to you like that.
Yeah.
I said, I just want to love you, hug you, and kiss you. I'm going to come in and do it. And she's the greatest one. She's spoiled, so she'll come down like, can't do this, and she'll just won't do it. Won't do it. And I'm like, Luma, like, dumpy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, do something. I'm like, subtle. I'm like, you. And she'll be like, and then she'll start like, you said, and I'm like, right. And I made a declaration. I said, I promise you that this is what I'll never do, but you gotta promise me in turn that you can respect me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Teaching her that that's the most precious thing there is. You know, the value of respect. But I always tell her, like, you know, you will one day trust the man to be head of your life, right? And you're going to look at somebody who's similar to me in some ways, right? And if not, I have failed, right?
So you always want my daughter to find something better than Daddy. Find something better than me.
No,
it's going to be hard.
No, but
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But I know when that day comes, either he's going to be exactly like me or better. Because I have set an example of love and affection and of communication and of support and for my kids, and they better not bring like we were talking to Francis said, don't bring nobody like
Franco.
So Francis was his dad. So Franco was saying to me, I tell my girls, don't bring home nobody like me. And he's getting better. He said, I'm getting better, but don't bring home nobody like me. I don't want to see nobody walk in that door that's like me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and it's like, but you know that to you, your daughter, you already better, right? She sees you with a lens of admiration because you've done the work. So you don't do, she's going to date a man the way she sees you, right? And in turn, that's why most fathers, I never understood this growing up. That's why most fathers, they looking at it like, I'm like, why is he so mad? You're like, he is nothing like me. And you're just like, sir, like, you're right. But in a sense, you are, like, you know what I mean? Like most dads, I think Freud, and you know, most girls love their dads, and most boys love their mom, you know what I mean? Which is so important to set a good example. But here's the thing, I always tell you women, you're not listening, right? But if you have a boy and you're counting on him for a sense of admiration, for his approval, and you're giving him everything he needs, thereby creating a self-centered jerk, right? You will set him up for a woman that will have to do just as much work as you do. And in turn, he may not have a successful relationship because he doesn't know what it's like to be a partner, because you have, in a sense, made him a husband and made him a leader in your life. Careful. Listen to the men in your life. And listen, and I always say this, and I've said it before, women, you cannot raise a boy when a man is trying to raise a man in front of your face. You cannot raise a boy behind a man's back. You can't.
So I think this falls in line with...
Oh, and here's the thing. If that father or the man in his life is guiding him to be a good man, stay out of it if you trust him. Now, if you don't trust him, that's a whole nother issue.
You shouldn't be with him.
You shouldn't be with him. But if you love if you love the traits that are in that man in front of you, and he's trying to raise that boy in front of you, you don't know what it's like to be a man and cannot and should not interfere with that. Learn to listen more, love more, and hate less.
I think this message is for the younger generation, the younger ladies.
It's for the older ones too.
No, well,
man, someone else.
What I want to say is to just the women that haven't had all that pain, having endured all that disappointment from dating or being in serious relationships where men have hurt them and scarred them, this is where you gotta, you have to choose wisely. And if you're one of those women that can love well, then you have to find a man that's going to love you well, because otherwise he's not going to love you well. You're going to learn some really bad traits from how to, just protecting yourself from that person. And then you're going to take that into the next relationship. And if that man doesn't love you well, you're going to become scarred again. And by the time you get to your husband or the man you want to marry, you're going to be so scarred that he's not going to want to be with you. So really, really, really have strong convictions on these men that you're dating. Like, it's fine dating, but when you start being intimate with these men that you have no business with being intimate with, then you just have to be careful, and you have to be aware of and listen to what they're saying and how they're treating you, and stop with the excuses. Oh, well, he just had a bad day, or this is just how he is. No, listen to that dude and leave. If he's
Start giving away your cool cheese to places that are not good for you.
And so, you want to save yourself, and that's what the Bible talks about as far as, not having sex and not being intimate until you're married. Exactly that, because you're going to be scarred, and you're going to take those scars into your marriage. And if you don't get counseling, your marriage is going to be hella difficult. And guys are saying that. So this is not just a message to women about guys, but this is also a message about guys about women. And we've been talking about that mainly throughout this podcast, but it goes both ways. We got to stop dealing with these people that don't love us, that don't treat us with love, with respect, and when they don't value us, they just see us as an opportunity. And we have to stop and recognize that these people are treating us as opportunities, and find those that really will love us. And you find those people because they're walking in the same direction. Now, I said this to another podcast before. My pastor, Johnny, was preaching, and he said, you do not turn around and try to pull somebody in the direction that you're walking in if you're walking towards Christ. You take a look around and you find those individuals that are walking in the same direction towards Christ that you are. And you said it. If that woman is not pointed in that direction, if that woman is not on fire for Christ, you can't do nothing with that.
Nope. As Franco said, if you try to do it for her, right? Mom, in the words of great, you next! You next!
As an inside joke.
Yeah.
But we thank you guys for being here, for watching our podcast, for this episode. We'll be back with another one. Thank you guys for the support. Bumping them in, men. We got to step out. We got to do right. We got to do better. We got to be better men in our communities, in our homes, and in our churches.
Stand up.
All right.